Okay, we are rolling. Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. Well, I'm going to talk about the fight, which is going to be a big one on November 10th. And it's a big one because, not so much because of box office exposure, you know, it being a giant mega fight worldwide, Ali, Frazier, the thriller in Manila, Mayweather, Pacquiao, Duran Leonard, any of them sort of things. It's, shall we say, an attempt at a legacy. It's one man's attempt to put himself up there among the top 5, I think, if he wins this fight, British boxers of all time. Why? Because you're dealing with a man in Usyk who has already unified the world titles, winning the Super Series in his division at cruiserweight. He is on the high level list of pound for pound fighters. These are his achievements. Let's talk about his skill set. The guy can fight. The guy can fight with heart, volume, put punches together. He can punch. He can wear opponents down. He can entertain. But the guy has a ring IQ. The guy has fantastic movement with his feet. The guy can fight on the back foot. The guy can fight at distance. The guy can pick you off. The guy can place a shutout in terms of the scorecards in his matches, just as he did in the final of the Super Series. Did you not watch Usyk's last fight? This was a man who, like Lomachenko in a way, shown you his whole range of versatility. Left hand, right hand, step in, step out, step to the side, back foot, body shots. It was all there. Winning without breaking a sweat against the finalist, who was a world-class opponent, a world-class operator himself. That win that Usyk achieved to win the trophy was a better win in terms of, not in terms of what money he made, but in terms of significance, was a greater win than Bellew, Tony Bellew's win over David Haye. Why? Usyk beat a world-class fighter with both legs. David Haye had one leg in both matches with Tony Bellew. People keep saying, oh, David Haye has the power still. David Haye's power is relying on his body being in sync, because he relies on his legs more than other heavyweights because he's a smaller guy. The power comes from David Haye's body being completely in sync. He is a well-toned athlete. And what happens with a well-toned athlete when they sustain an injury? Things malfunction. Tony Bellew would be a better fighter injured than David Haye, because Tony Bellew's body does not need to be as finely toned for him to do what he needs to do. Right? David Haye could not do what Danny Williams did years ago with one arm knocking a guy out. He needs the balance because he's small. He's muscular. As I said, he's an athlete. Manny Pacquiao would need his legs to generate power on his punches at welterweight. No question, because he's the smaller guy. Now, Errol Spence, if he had injuries to his legs, that would be hard enough. But I would bet Errol Spence could sort of get a lucky punch through a fight easier than the smaller guy Manny Pacquiao could. Do you see what I'm saying? So the Usyk win was a more glorious win for people who watch boxing closely than Tony Bellew's. Tony Bellew's was against a big name and a big payday. And yes, it was an achievement to beat David Haye. Nobody really gave him the shot, but he pulled it off twice. And the second time was even more conclusive, when he dropped David Haye multiple times and finished him with the left hook. Let's talk about Tony Bellew's character. As I say, I don't believe Tony Bellew is the most skilled British fighter we've seen. I would put Joe Calzaghe's skill set infinitely above his, Lennox Lewis's infinitely above his, Chris Eubank infinitely above his, the father I'm talking about now. Even, aggressors Nigel Benn, what he did is a skill. To be a successful aggressor and pull it off in boxing, that in itself is a skill. Nassim Hamed relied a lot on his reflexes. But at what he did, I think he was more naturally gifted than, say, a Tony Bellew. A lot of people hate Tony Bellew in my neck of the woods for one reason. He's a Scouser. Right? But they make picks against Tony Bellew because he's a Scouser. Right? He could be fighting Donald Duck. And people in Manchester would bet against Tony Bellew just because he's from, he's an Evertonian. Silly. Really silly. Let's get one thing into perspective. Tony Bellew has more character in his little finger than Hughie Fury. Absolutely. No doubt. Tony Bellew's character, as well as some of his skills and talent, but mainly his character, has got him to where he is today. And it got him the world title when he won it at Goodison Park. Many people had written Tony Bellew off after Adonis Stevenson had knocked him out. But sign of character is bouncing back. Tony Bellew has now had his big money occasions. I think the David Haye fights will be the biggest he's earned, and maybe will be the biggest he's ever earned. Now Tony Bellew is not sitting on his laurels. Now Tony Bellew is going for the legacy fight. This is much more an attempt at cementing a legacy from Tony Bellew than it was for Ricky Hatton when he fought Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. You know why? Those guys were pay-per-view sensations. It's easy to take a fight with those two. Not saying Ricky wouldn't have done that anyway, but the very best, the cream of the creme, also offered the best money. Let's not take that away. That's a fact, right? If Floyd Mayweather, it would be interesting. Would that fight have been as attractive to Ricky Hatton had Floyd Mayweather not guaranteed $10 to $15 million? Would it be that attractive to Ricky Hatton, looking at Manny Pacquiao, who can drop legends like Marquez 3 times in a round, be that attractive if he didn't offer $10 to $15 million? Knowing Ricky's character, yes, but you never know. There could have been a few advisors, Frank Warren and whatnot, saying, I don't know about this, Ricky, the money isn't great. And these guys are right up there. Tony Bellew knows Usyk is not Canelo Alvarez in terms of pay-per-view yet. But he's taking this fight. The legacy fight. If he wins, he jumps up tens of places on the British all-time list. Because Usyk, as I've said, has got the achievements real fast already. Like Lomachenko, real quick achiever. Undefeated, skill set like very few, pound for pound, can knock you out, stop you, break you down, all of them things. He is the real deal. One of the few in boxing now that you would look at and think that guy could be a champion in a couple of good eras. Tony Bellew is also more of an underdog. Yes, I'm going to say it. Tony Bellew is more of an underdog in this fight than Ricky Hatton was when he fought Floyd Mayweather. Go back to the odds of that fight, Ricky Hatton, Floyd Mayweather. The odds were pretty tight. Ricky was considered a threat. Let's make no mistake about it. Ricky Hatton was considered a threat to Manny Pacquiao too. Right? Tony Bellew, I am certain, is a bigger underdog v. Usyk. Should he really be? If you go on heart and desire, no. Tony Bellew has this thing where he proves people wrong time and time and time again. To be fair, so did Ricky Hatton in a lot of fights in his career. But Ricky Hatton, we always thought, once he reached a certain level, this guy can be the best in his division. He had more natural talent, I think, than Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew has gone further than we ever expected. Some people actually thought, as I said, Ricky Hatton could beat Floyd Mayweather. So, we did expect Ricky to achieve great things to a certain extent. Tony, we really haven't. But he's in the mix. He's in that mix. Would I be shocked one bit if Tony Bellew found some way to land a sharp left hook again and give us a game plan that we didn't expect and beat Usyk in the UK? Would that shock me? No, it would not, because I always say, in boxing, always be prepared to be right. Don't be surprised, but don't be shocked to be wrong. This isn't football. This is the hurt business. But also, initiating what I've just said there also means that I'm favouring Usyk in this fight. Because Tony Bellew is brilliant with mind games and stuff like that. He rattled David Haye in that first press conference. David didn't fall for it as much in the second one. It was just that David Haye was so shot that he was there to be shot, if that makes sense. Tony Bellew fought on the back foot against David Haye. People thought he would come forward and be reckless. No, he waited for David Haye's command centre to explode before then he started taking advantage. Because we did see Tony Bellew in the past sort of swing for the trees and get emotional, too emotional in the ring. I carry power and all that stuff, and nearly get knocked out himself. He didn't do that with David Haye. He was smart on the job. He boxed. He sort of at times kept it at a distance. He knew David Haye didn't have the legs. He knew David Haye, who is, what's the right word for this? He's an ambush fighter. He covers the ring real quick before you expect it. He's away, and then before you know it, he's in your face and he's landed one of those haymakers with a hand speed. He knew David Haye could not cover that ground. So when David was trapped, Tony took advantage. There was alarm clocks going off there, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Myers is around somewhere. It's nearly Halloween. Anyway, back. That was the Twilight Zone, wasn't it? Michael Myers is more. Anyway. So, Tony Bellew proved he's smarter than we give him credit for. Had he gone hell for leather straight away with David Haye, maybe David's legs would have had enough to have caught him cold early, but he didn't let that happen. Usyk, though, has everything. He's at his peak. He's at his peak. Peak. I'll say it again. Peak. Do you know what that means? He's right at the top of wherever he could be. If it's a ladder, he's on the top of it. If he's in the attic, He's on top of the chimney with the birds. If he's in a cage with a lion, he's climbing that cage and not letting the monkey in the other cage knock him back down so the lion can, have an early morning breakfast. He's at the peak. Tony Bellew, he's not that young. He's 35, I think. I see Tony Bellew being outboxed. I think Usyk has got his number, and I see Tony Bellew being shocked at the level of quality. But if Tony Bellew can make this competitive, this is fighting in the UK, remember. He might just get a few favours. He might just be able, if he could keep it close, if he can lose the fight 7-5, Tony Bellew may be able to pull this off with the judges. I think Usyk has the ability, if it goes to points, to do something ridiculous like win the fight 10-2. I see Usyk. Tony Bellew he's not fought at cruiserweight for a long time. I see Usyk being clever enough to jab to that body and use enough variation in his work. Make Tony Bellew sort of chase him. Give Tony Bellew a false sense of security that he is weary of Tony being an attacker. Tony Bellew could get tired. It's been a long time since he's been at cruiserweight. I think he's got the better speed of hand than Tony Bellew. I think, and people talk about foot speed, it's also footwork, how good the feet are. He's better at placing them feet, right? Tony Bellew's best bet for me is catching Usyk cold. Is throwing pedal to the metal in the first 6 rounds, right? Because he says he does carry power. Can he land that power? Some good right hands that he knocked David Haye down with. David Haye has a good chin, but he managed to drop him in the second fight. Was that a result of David Haye's punch resistance going because he took a beating in the first fight for 11 rounds after his leg went? Who knows? But still, we know Tony Bellew does have some pop. He's got to make that count. When he gets the chance, he's got to let them hands go. And if Usyk's guard is up, he's got to go to Usyk's body to try and slow Usyk's footwork down so he can make it a trench fight. Because a trench fight, Usyk may still be favourite. He may still have the ability to beat Bellew to the punch. But Bellew has a better chance in the trenches than he does in ringcraft. Let's just put it that way. What result do I see? I see Usyk. I don't see this going to the scorecards. I see Usyk breaking him down. Because I think, unlike Usyk's last opponent, that kind of looks satisfied to lose on those scorecards, Tony Bellew has more pride than that. Tony Bellew, if what he's doing early is not working, will throw caution to the wind. And of course, a technician like Usyk then begins to use your force field against you. Because when you throw caution to the wind, you also leave openings. It's like when football teams attack trying to get an equaliser. They've got a good chance of scoring, but they've also got an awful chance of being countered and the other team scoring again because they're wide open taking chances. Bellew, though, has to take chances. He can't be cautious because he'll lose. He has a 10% chance if he lets it fly. But I see Usyk stopping Tony Bellew inside 10 rounds. I see him giving Tony Bellew's body withering attacks, particularly with the jab, and around with hooks to the body. And I see Tony Bellew sort of being a little bit immobilized. And then Usyk being able to come over the top with power punches when he's trying to protect his body. But Usyk has many of the shots in the book. You can't tell me many things that this guy does badly. Sometimes he does like to have a war himself, but he's shown in his last outing, when he's in there with a good fighter, he shuts up shop. He goes better defensively. It's harder to hit him. I think Usyk respects Bellew. He knows Bellew has pop. He won't be there to be hit. And if he is there, he'll have them defenses ready. I've no doubt about that. Tony Bellew was smarter, more at a distance. But I haven't seen what his guard and defenses can block when he's facing a guy with such artillery as this. Adonis Stevenson was able to hit him and stop him. Usyk is not. Well, he does switch. He does switch from orthodox to southpaw. He does have that ability. Boxing from different stances. He hasn't got the power that Adonis Stevenson had, but he's got more punch variety and better punch selection. And what he has a tendency to do, he'll hit you with a few soft shots, mid, tough shots, that's what I call them, when they're powerful but not full power, and then he sits down on one. When you least expect it, he's got that ability. These are all the things that Tony Bellew is going to have to deal with. And like I said, he got in David Haye's head. Usyk is loving this. He's not getting in Usyk's head. This guy, he looks like a James Bond baddie. There's a meanness to him. There is a meanness to him. He's not acting. Tony Bellew tries to get in your head. Usyk is not trying to get in your head. That's just him. So it is what it is. I wouldn't be shocked if Tony Bellew pulled off a miracle, because that's what he does. As I said, this is boxing. But if form goes to the guide, I'm expecting one of the best pound for pound to not need the scorecards. And if he goes to the scorecards, he wins 8-4, even though it was 10-2. But they'll give Bellew a couple of generous rounds. They always do. But I see Usyk being able to stop Tony Bellew in his own country. And I'll tell you something, the British public are not familiar with Usyk that much, not the casuals, but the ones that see this, he will take their breath away. Because he's one of the best pound for pound. Equally, I think he's a better fighter right now than Golovkin. And I think Golovkin is a very good fighter. But I put Usyk above him. He is on Mikey Garcia's level, in my opinion. He's better than Errol Spence, in my opinion, who is on the pound-for-pound list. That's how much. Because he's got more to his game, I think, than Errol Spence. He's better schooled. Right? He has a chin, but he knows, against certain fighters, the best chin in the game is the one that doesn't get hit. So I'm tipping Usyk to win this fight. He is going to be the boogeyman on that night. But I wish Tony Bellew well. He is a character. And you've got to give him credit. This is not the payday David Haye was. Tony Bellew could have rested on his laurels after those wins and posed around. But he's not. He's trying to go for the pound-for-pound promised land and become one of Britain's all-time best boxers. Good luck to Tony Bellew. Let's hope you prove me wrong yet again. But it's Usyk for the win. This is Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. I'm out.